Hi there. So in this video, I'm going to continue in sharing the process that I'm walking right now of changing an emotional reaction and experience of feeling left out of a group that I had seen and discovered within myself a few weeks or months ago, and upon which I had started this journey and process of changing this specific emotional reaction. I mean, this emotional reaction has been with me my whole life, like feeling left out. Whenever I'm in a group of people, I would start to feel like lonely and alone within myself. It's like while I'm watching everyone be happy and joyful and having fun together, and I see people smiling to each other and talking to each other, and everyone's having fun, I'm sort of standing there looking at the whole thing, feeling more and more alone within myself and sort of inferior and less than the whole thing that I'm seeing, less than the people that I'm observing in that moment, less than the joy and the happiness that I'm seeing in the people that I'm watching in that moment, in the group that I'm with. So it was a few weeks or months ago that I, for the first time, really saw this specific experience within myself very clearly, clear enough to start opening it up for myself, like clear enough to start investigating it and investigating who I am within it, how I created it, how it exists, how it functions in my own mind. So, upon investigating this experience through writing about it, simple tool, it's just I started writing about the experience, like specifically the thoughts that came up in that moment, and then the emotional experience that I was experiencing in relation to those thoughts, the image that I was seeing and reacting to, the ideas that went through my mind, like everything that had something to do with how I was feeling in that moment. And also, an interesting aspect that I found was that when looking at this specific experience of feeling left out, you can see that it's an emotional experience, meaning it's like a negative feeling or a negative emotion. It feels negative, like you're going into a low energy state within yourself, like even your body posture is like your shoulders are starting to droop down, and you're kind of taking on this kind of inferior stance in your entire body posture, like everything of yourself in that moment becomes low and less than and negative, like you're going down. And so that is a very interesting aspect to realize, because from what I understand so far, having walked a specific process of investigating my mind and changing my mind, changing who I am within and as my mind, what I've realized so far is that energy works in polarities, which means that if I'm experiencing myself in a low right now, for instance, feeling left out, for instance, feeling alone, feeling lonely, depressed, inferior, less than, then that actually means that somewhere in the past, I've actually been experiencing a high. Somewhere in the past, I've been participating in my mind in positive feelings, and in those moments, I have been creating the low. that's how it works. That's how the mind works. It's like constantly balancing itself out, basically through energy. So when I investigated that point of, what is the opposite of what I'm experiencing right now? What is the high of this low? What I found was that, like, having a look at how my mind operates throughout my day, is that I'm often preoccupied in my mind with thoughts about, for instance, sex, sexual fantasies, about a specific person that I've just met, or feeling positive about thinking that people like me. It's like that's something that I often feel like a positive feeling within myself when I've, for instance, just had a conversation with someone, and in my mind I'm thinking like, oh, that person looked like they really liked me and they liked what I had to say, and it's like I'm rehashing the conversation in my mind, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm giving it meaning, and I'm making it special in my mind, and I feel positive about the whole thing, like, because this person likes me. Yes, that's nice. So it's those moments where I'm participating in a positive feeling connected with, for instance, thinking that I'm connected with people, thinking that I belong with people, that people accept me, people like me, people notice me. It's those moments where I'm actually simultaneously creating a negative experience connected with thoughts that people don't accept me, people don't notice me, I am all alone, I don't belong with the group, stuff like that. So, that's a very interesting point to realize, because this piece of insight and realization is what I can use to apply in actually changing myself, changing who I am in this entire pattern that is playing out, so that I can basically prevent this emotional experience of feeling left out to play itself again, to replay itself in my life, because, I don't like that experience. So the second step within this process that I applied after having written down these realizations and my insights with regards to how this entire pattern plays out in my mind is what I will be sharing here, which is where the second time that I found myself again in that experience, because, just because I've now realized how it works doesn't mean it's just going to stop, because I have to actually stop it, because it's a feeling that comes up in a moment and it kind of overtakes me, or it's an emotion and it overtakes me in one moment, and then I feel like swept away and overwhelmed and powerless or disempowered by this emotional experience. So the key to changing this would be that in those moments I actually kind of stand up within myself and go like, okay, this is enough. I'm not allowing myself to go into this. Which is not just going to happen by itself, just by me realizing how it works. So in this second moment where I was in a similar situation with two women talking to each other, and I was just kind of standing next to them, and I saw them having fun and making jokes and laughing, and I saw this emotional experience creeping up inside of myself, where I was starting to feel left out, and I was starting to think like I don't really fit in, and I don't think they really like me, and I don't think that they see me as a part of this scenario, and maybe they want me to go away, and all those thoughts creeping up in my mind, where I'm basically secluding myself and rejecting myself out of the physical situation connected to an emotional experience of loneliness, feeling alone, feeling rejected, feeling separated and disconnected. So what I did in that moment, where I recognized what was starting to play out in my mind, is that I started applying self-forgiveness, which is the act of recognizing my power in relation to my own mind, recognizing my abilities in stopping myself in relation to my own mind, meaning, I start applying self-forgiveness, such as I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to experience a disconnection from what I'm seeing right now with my eyes. I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to not see, realize, and understand that me experiencing a disconnection from what I'm seeing with my eyes is a consequence of me actually desiring a connection and having connected a positive energy feeling with the idea and thought in my mind that I belong somewhere and I fit in and people like me. For instance, so within applying this, which was like a silent whisper within myself, because I was still in the company with these two women, so I wasn't gonna like say things like that out loud because they might think I'm crazy, but I just did it silently within myself, not in my mind, but like a silent murmur or whisper kind of in my inside voice. And so because within applying this self-forgiveness in this way, in the moment where you actually see the thoughts and the emotions come up, you are basically, it's like you're for a moment snapping yourself out of the experience, and for a moment kind of saying to yourself, hey, hi, I'm here, look, these emotions don't have to define me. Just because this is coming up inside of myself right now doesn't mean that I have to go into it. I can formulate a solution in this moment. I don't have to be like this. So, self-forgiveness in that aspect is, and from that perspective, is like, it's like giving yourself to yourself in that moment. It's like giving yourself an opportunity or a possibility or a window for change. Giving yourself your own power and awareness in that moment, where you become aware of who you are and what you're doing, and of the fact that you have the possibility to change who you are. So having applied that and starting to apply that self-forgiveness in that moment, I actually saw the emotional experiences kind of dissipate and dissolve and release. Where, if I compare the moment to the first moment where I experienced the feeling left out, I went into it like full throttle, where I ended up crying, secluding myself in my room, isolating myself, feeling absolutely like shit, like the world is against me, or I'm somehow absolutely alone, even though there were all these people around me. But I'm alone in the world. No one sees me or no one understands me, and I was going into like a full-on depression, even like ready to give up everything just because of this emotion. Whereas now, already understanding how it works and taking that stance within myself of, okay, you know what? I realized that this isn't who I have to be in this moment. I was able to shift my awareness and who I am from going into that emotional experience to actually standing equal to that emotional experience, and going like, you know what, that's not me, or like I don't have to go into that. I have a choice. I can just be here and remain stable. So, in my blog, I have written the process that I've walked more in specificity. For instance, there was more specific self-forgiveness that I did in that moment, so that is what I've written down in my blog, which you're welcome to read if you're interested in what this process is all about, of basically starting to realize who you are in relation to your own mind, and realize your own potential and power in relation to your own mind, and realizing that you don't have to experience what it is that you're experiencing on a daily basis. There's many emotional experiences that we go through that don't have to be there, and that don't have to define and control our life. So it's a simple process, it's simple tools that I have been using over the last 5 to 6 years, and they have assisted me tremendously in being able to change basically completely as a human being, and realize my own abilities and potential, and be able to manifest things in my life that, I've always basically wanted for myself, but never knew how to apply or do or develop. Okay, and there's also the Destiny website, where you can find all the tools and all the support that you may possibly need within this process. Then there is the DIP process, where you have the DIP Lite, which is a free online course that you can walk, that will guide you through the Destiny material and how to use the tools and apply the tools. So there's plenty of support out there. This was it for me for today. Thank you very much.